Ladies and gentlemen, State of the Cities will begin in 10 minutes. Once again, State of the Cities will begin in 10 minutes.
Build a home and watch it burn. I didn't wanna leave you, I didn't wanna lie. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, and I can hold my own hand. Yeah, I can love me better than you can. Pay my nails, cherry red, bunch of roses that you left. No remorse, no regret. I forgive every word you said. Ooh, I didn't wanna leave you, babe. I didn't wanna fight. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand. I can take myself dancing, yeah, and I can hold my own hand. Yeah, I can love me better than you can. I can love me better, babe. Can love me better. I can love me better, babe. I can love me better, babe.
Everybody's looking for somebody to take home. I'm not the expectant, I'm a blessing of a body to love on. If you just want it bad tonight, come by me and drop a line. Put your aura into mine. Don't be scared if you like it. I could fill you up alive. I could ease your appetite. No, you've never been this high. Don't be scared if you like it. 'Cause I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make friends. Don't be scared like that. Oh, I need a lover. I need a lover. I need a lover. I'm just being honest, baby. I just need a partner when the lights come on. Yeah, yeah. 30 almost got me, and I'm so over love songs, yeah. So if you want it bad tonight, come by me and drop a line. No, you've never been this high. Don't be scared if you like it. 'Cause I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make friends. Don't be scared like that. Oh, I need a lover. I need a lover. I need a
Ladies and gentlemen, State of the Cities will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. Once again, State of the Cities will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. Thank you.
I'm not the expectation, I'm a blessing of a body to love on. Cause I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make friends. Don't be scared like that. I need a lover. I need a lover. I need a lover. Thank you for coming home. Sorry that the chairs are all worn. I left them here, I could have sworn. These are my salad days, slowly being eaten away. Just another play for today. But am I proud of you? But I'm proud of you. Nothing left to make me feel small. That has left me standing so tall. Gold, always believe in your soul. You got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe it, 'cause you are gold. Glad that you're bound to return. There's something I could have learned. You're indestructible. Always believe it. Oh, after the rush has gone, I hope you find a little more time. Remember we were partners in crime. It's only 2 years ago, the man with the sweet and the face. You knew that he was there on the case. Now he is in love with you, he's in love with you. My love is like a high pressure wall, but you can let me standing so tall. Gold, always believe in your soul. You got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe it, 'cause you are gold. Glad that you're bound to return. There's something I could have learned. You're indestructible. Always believe it. Love is like a high pressure wall. You can let me standing so tall. Gold. Things fall apart. Time breaks your heart. I wasn't there, but I know she was your girl. You show her the world. You fell out of love and you both let go. She was crying.
Ladies and gentlemen, State of the Cities will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Once again, State of the Cities will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Thank you.
Now I know that you love me. You don't need to remind me. I should put it all behind me, shouldn't I? But I see her in the back of my mind all the time. Like a fever, like I'm burning alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the chair of the board of the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce, Chad Flanagan.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the 2025 State of the Cities. It's fantastic to see both new and familiar faces as we kick off the year with another signature event. The State of the Cities is one of the Chamber's most important events. It brings together local business community and city leaders to talk and share ideas. This helps everyone work together to make the community stronger. As we start our new year, we have new opportunities and challenges, both shaped by evolving policy and community needs. This event gives us a chance to align, to listen, and determine impactful solutions together. On behalf of the board, the staff, and Shannon, our chamber leader, we want to thank you, the 5 mayors, for your continued partnership and leadership. Speaking of Shannon, this is one of her favorite events. And she would normally be up here welcoming all of you, but she had a medical procedure earlier this week, and she is recovering today. We're all thinking about you, Shannon, and I'm sure you'll be up here soon. Many of the topics we'll discuss today are influenced and advanced by our state legislators. As we approach the upcoming legislative session, we encourage you to explore our public policy guide. And you can find that on the Chamber website or on your tables with the QR code. So we have a new year, a new plan, and we've officially launched Innovate 28, the highly anticipated, bold, game-changing vision to drive our region forward. We're working with the EDC to achieve bold goals to improve jobs, grow businesses, and shape important communities within workforce, business development, and public policy. Many of today's sponsors are part of that 4-year plan. We're so thankful for your support of the Chamber and the EDC in helping make this event happen. So now at this time, I'd like to take a minute and thank our sponsors for today's event. And first, I'd like to thank Xcel Energy, our premier sponsor, whose leadership and dedication to the growth and success of this metro area has been instrumental. Xcel has been a loyal sponsor of this event for many years. Tony Grinberg, through his work at Xcel and the Cass County Commission, has played a big role in making Innovate 28 happen. He's also named the board chair of the Metro Flood Diversion Authority Board, and he's excited to step into that role with more than half the construction work complete and focusing his attention to operations and maintenance. Tony, thank you for your tremendous leadership on so many fronts throughout the region. I'd also like to thank our gold sponsors, AdShark, Consolidated Communications, Houston Engineering, Marvin, and Moore Engineering. We're also grateful for our corporate sponsors who are shown on the screen. Please join me in giving a round of applause for all of our sponsors. Now I have the privilege of introducing Tony Grinberg to the stage. As I've already mentioned, Tony will be representing Xcel Energy today as our premier sponsor, and he's also graciously agreed to moderate the conversation with the mayors. He's doing it without his wingman, Shannon, but will do a great job. So thank you, Tony. Please welcome Tony Grinberg.
Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Shannon and the Chamber team, we're grateful that you took the time this morning to learn about the success and the progress we make in a metro region and hear from our mayors. I have a deep sense of gratitude as well to lead Xcel Energy in North Dakota, and on behalf of my teammates, we're pleased to continue to support the growth and the Chamber of Commerce activities, as well as Innovate 28 that Chad mentioned. I think it would also be important for us just to take a moment and reflect where we've come from in 2024, starting a new year in 2025, and the exciting things you're going to hear today from our leaders in our respective communities, and the challenges that they face as elected officials. So with that, I think we should pause a moment or two and reflect on the challenges going on in California. As you can imagine, the stress from emergency managers to citizens family members who've lost loved ones. It's a horrendous event going on in the West Coast, and I think just like take 10 seconds and a pause and send your prayers to California. Thank you. Now let's talk about today's program. At the center of each table, you'll find a sign featuring a QR code. Scan it with your phone to access today's agenda, explore detailed information about the projects being discussed, view one-pagers from each of the cities, the chance to check out the Chamber's Public Policy Guide, and submit questions directly to our mayors. You can also submit questions to the mayors by typing in chamberquestions.com into your web browser. Before we welcome the mayors to the stage for a panel discussion, we're going to welcome representatives from 3 major regional projects to provide brief updates regarding progress and timelines. Together we will hear updates on the $3 billion FM diversion project, a transformative initiative for flood control and community resilience, downtown Moorhead projects that will redefine downtown Moorhead with urban living, business opportunities, and the convention center recently approved by the voters to move forward with a potential convention center concept to serve as a hub for economic growth and opportunity. After exploring these exciting projects, we'll hear from each of our mayors. Following their remarks, we'll open the floor to your questions for a great interactive conversation. And as moderator, I have prepared questions, and we'll also float back and forth to your questions, so we won't follow the script for the entire time of the session, so your questions will also be addressed. Now let's get started with an update on the diversion project from Robert Wilson, Co-Executive Director of the Metro Flood Diversion Authority. Please help me welcome to the stage Robert Wilson.
Commissioner, thank you very much. I know that's not the role that you're serving in this morning, but old habits die hard, so that's what I'll call Tony as enter the stage. In this role, serving as co-executive director in the last couple of months, along with my partner in that role as city administrator for the city of Fargo, Mike Redlinger, I would be remiss if I didn't start by just recognizing the amazing people that are involved in this project. Between the Board of Authority, the authority staff, the consultants, our U.S. Army Corps of Engineers partners, and obviously our newest team member that's going to be coming online next month, Jason Benson, when he steps into that role as executive director. This is an exceptional group. We are very thrilled and blessed to have this group, and with Jason joining that team, that's going to be an amazing group. And those of you who know Jason, I think, understand just how significant his leadership role for this project is going to be. Now, reflecting a little bit on the work in 2024, this was a big year. This was the biggest construction year to date for the project, and the project is more than half complete at this point. A couple of really significant things that I would point out to you in how the work has progressed and the scale of work is there have been 380,000 equipment hours accomplished. And if you think about that, heavy equipment hours accomplished, and if you think about that in terms of one person working 24/7, 365, you're talking about 37 years of work for one person. That's 2024. When you talk about the amount of data that is produced, primarily with drone flyovers of mapping the channel and the various elements there, that's 80 terabytes of data. I'm not a particularly techie person, but I'm told that's equivalent data to producing a song playlist that would go for 153 years. And then when you also just talk about the amount of material that is moved for this project, we're looking at just the amount of material would fill the Fargo Dome 13 times over. So it's just a scale of work here that is pretty incredible. And again, that's just 2024. There's a number of elements of the project that were also completed this year that as we're really moving along and getting a lot of work done. This is a visual image of the channel itself. And there are a couple of segments of the channel that are now complete. I think it's interesting to just sort of look at what the channel is made up of from a very high level. That little meandering center area will have water, a small amount of water running continuously, even during non-operations, almost a stream-like amount. The green area represents the main channel. The levees, all obviously boundary, where the water will run, and then the excavated material berms outside of that then slope down. And for me, as part of they thought of everything on this. Outside of the excavated material berms on the downslope, you've even got what are called toe drains to take care of water that drains off the outside and can be moved away from the area itself. Number of really big accomplishments that are underway. The Maple River Aqueduct is one of 2 aqueducts on the project. These are thought to be the 2 northernmost aqueducts in all of the world. This picture is from September, and this is I think one of the most fascinating features of this project. The diversion outlet was completed in 2024. This is where the river makes the oxbow and continues north, and the diversion channel ends there with that area that runs straight. Significant element of the project. And then a couple of the structures here that are completed by our core partners. The diversion inlet structure will be completed this summer. The Wild Rice River structure will also be completed this summer, and then the Red River structure, which uses more concrete than the other 2 combined, is well underway, and that is the largest structure, and that's at about 70% complete at this point. You know, we really want to stay engaged with the community and inform the community of where this project is at each stage. There's a number of ways that you can engage with the project. Obviously at the website, fmdiversion.gov, you can sign up for the e-newsletter that comes up, and then we also are very active on our social media platforms. So feel free to check us out and reach out if you have any questions, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to present this update this morning. Thank you for the opportunity, and enjoy the program.
So if you're a homeowner that's currently paying flood insurance, or a banker that's financing different cost structures around development within our footprint of the diversion, ultimately, flood insurance will go away when the project's certified, saving you money, and ultimately, with the requirements on financing, would be lessened, and development can concur at a much more competitive rate. So we're hopeful as we move forward with this project, with the FEMA process of certifying the new floodplain, a lot of costs will come down for a lot of people in our region. Thank you, Robert. The diversion has long time been in the making, and it represents a crucial step forward in ensuring flood protection and safety for our community and region. We greatly appreciate your update on this important project. Now we'll hear from Ted Horan, Vice President of Marketing and E-commerce for RDO Equipment, who will tell us about some exciting projects in downtown Moorhead. Ted?
Good morning. As mentioned in my introduction, I'm a team member at RDO Equipment Company, but I come to you this morning as a board member for Downtown Moorhead Incorporated and as a proud resident of the city of Moorhead. My job here today is to share the impactful developments that are happening in downtown Moorhead. From the river to 11th Street, our community is essentially rebuilding our downtown center. Good building starts with good planning. The Moorhead Downtown Master Plan was approved in December 2020, and it set the foundation for the future of our downtown. Public engagement helped define our core values of authenticity, vibrancy, equity, resilience, and connectivity. We're committed to using this plan, and we use this plan today to achieve the community's vision, a vision to create a space where people come together. I'm honored to represent such an incredible collaboration between elected officials, city staff, private sector leaders, citizens, my fellow Downtown Moorhead Incorporated board members, my man Derek Lapointe. When I was first approached to serve on this brand new board several years ago, I thought, with all that needs to be done, and as a bit of a skeptic, I figured this ought to be interesting. But it's working. It's really, really working. With only 5 minutes to tell this story, I'm going to share 3 themes: transportation improvements, civic space improvements, and downtown business growth. Center Avenue was reconstructed in 2023 as a 3-lane road, now designed for walkability and safer biking, not just a quick way to get through town. More streets are under construction and being reestablished, like Minnesota Avenue and Red River Avenue. On the edge of downtown, the 11th Street Underpass project has begun. It's the largest public transportation project in Moorhead's history. $171 million is the total, is the investment. This project will enhance connectivity, reduce traffic congestion, improve emergency response times, and improve pedestrian safety by separating auto traffic from the 70 trains that pass through daily. Following our downtown plan, Moorhead's downtown center neighborhood is being designed to be a great place to live, work, and visit. On the north side of Center Avenue, with the Center Mall demolition nearly complete, you can see vertical evidence of the loop, which will house the Moorhead Public Library, an indoor children's play area, a center for entrepreneurship, and a walking track for year-round fitness. The half-cent local sales tax to fund this project was passed with 64% of the vote in 2022. Moorhead City Hall is being renovated to include more efficient office spaces, better public service areas, and improved accessibility while remaining downtown. A public plaza with green spaces planned to the west of the building, just across the street from my favorite Shields. Parks, events, and the arts are vital to our downtown plan. We are creating inclusive spaces to foster strong community engagement, to attract more visitors, and to support local businesses. Moorhead's new Rotary Natural Play Hill and Bike Park is a prime example of these efforts. Along with Davie Memorial Park and Viking Ship Park, it shows how the community is coalescing around a reimagined downtown core. Riverfront events like Folkways, Sunset on the Riverfront, Farmers Markets, Red River Arts, the Celtic Fest, drive and will drive energy toward our goal to bring people together. Businesses and housing are the economic keys to making the revitalization work. The first of several new commercial and residential buildings is well underway. The building at 650 Center is taking shape in what was once United Sugar's parking lot. The City of Moorhead and Downtown Moorhead Incorporated are having conversations with prospective developers and business owners. Many of you are in the room today. There is excitement in the development community with the vision and the ability to rebuild a downtown. Through all this activity toward revitalization, construction, detours, demolition, I would be remiss not to acknowledge our existing businesses. They show grit, resilience, and adaptability. As businesses transition out of the mall, several have relocated within Moorhead. Moorhead Vision is celebrating its 100th anniversary and will relocate in a new location, South Moorhead, this quarter. Downtown Chiropractic will relocate to the main floor of the building at 650 Center. Moorhead Drug has reopened at 8th and Center with a convenient drive-through. And although it's in a former Taco John's, I can confirm you cannot get potato olays. Oh, olays. And one final thing, I'd like to draw your attention to the Immigrant Development Center proposed cultural mall. As we consider bringing people together, this downtown plan calls upon Moorhead's rich history as a community of higher education and its connection to people across the world. So it makes sense to consider a space that aims to boost local economic development through small business ownership, entrepreneurship, and job creation. Stay tuned for updates on new international restaurants, cultural events, and unique shops in Moorhead. Look, what you've heard me say in 5 minutes or so does not do this project justice. What's happening in downtown Moorhead is big. It's outrageous. We are investing in Moorhead right in the center of the city, where you can be within walking distance of food, groceries, shopping, entertainment, and so much more. Nearly 18 acres. Moorhead is ready, Moorhead is proud, and Moorhead is strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Sure sounds like Moorhead has some great developments underway. Nice job. Our final community insight will be from Charlie Johnson. I'm going to pause a moment. I don't know what Charlie's middle name is, but if it starts with the letter P, it should be persistence. We have talked about a convention center for a long time in our community, and Charlie has had unwavering support and dedication to see this project take the next steps. So we're going to call you Charlie P for now. President and CEO of the Fargo Moorhead Visitors Bureau. He will tell us more about the convention center that just passed in the November City of Fargo ballot. Charlie, or Mr. Persistent?
Hey, anything worth doing is worth working hard at, right? Thank you. Thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate that. As you all know, in November, Fargo voters approved a proposal to double the city's lodging tax from 3% to 6%. I want to start by thanking the Chamber for this opportunity to be here and speak about this, also for the Chamber's support and for the support of all of you. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room who lives in Fargo must have voted yes. That's wonderful. I appreciate that. And I want to thank the Chamber for its support. Also, the EDC was a big supporter. And I would like to also acknowledge our staff, some of whom are here at table 404. You know, just wave your hands. You don't have to stand up. But our Visit Fargo Moorhead staff did a wonderful job helping us push this over the finish line. So, this extra 3% lodging tax will generate enough money for a future convention center in Fargo. It's anticipated that the additional tax will cover construction costs of a minimum of about $40 million and still leave funding for annual operating subsidies, which is important to us. And the fact that interest rates are coming down, those of you who follow the markets know this, albeit slowly, will likely improve the funding picture by the time the city gets to that point, which we hope isn't too far away. The city's going to establish a committee to prepare a request for proposals from developers interested in a public-private partnership to build the convention center and other amenities. The committee will review proposals generated by this RFP process and make recommendations to the city commission. And I would drop in a side note here. We've had a lot of interest. I think we're going to have multiple excellent projects to choose from once we get to that point. We have a list of names to submit to the commission for the committee that will handle this, but that will come after the commission approves the enacting ordinance. So the city's contribution to the project is expected to cover the construction of the convention center, as I told you, which should have a minimum of about 80,000 square feet of meeting space, plus ancillary space. Developers submitting proposals will be expected to build an attached hotel and whatever other amenities they choose. They will also be proposing locations for this. The RFP could also leave leeway for each developer. We hope it will leave leeway for each developer to propose their preferred mechanism for management of the convention facility. If you scan that QR code, you'll find a handout that says the committee will begin its work in January. That was pretty optimistic of me when I wrote that. But the need to pass the enacting ordinance means the committee won't be approved and probably won't be able to start work until sometime in February. Ideally, we'll still be able to release that RFP document to developers by the end of March, but I am a realistic man, besides persistent, and I suspect that'll probably get pushed at least into April. Interested parties, of course, will have at least 60, probably 90 days to submit their proposals, and once that window closes, the committee will review the proposals and ultimately bring a recommendation to the Fargo City Commission. The additional 3% lodging tax will not be enacted until a project has been selected. I may have fallen behind on my slides here. Yeah, okay. Once operational, the Convention Center will allow Visit Fargo Moorhead to attract more and larger conferences to the community. Roughly $500,000 in direct visitor spending will result from each 1,000 conference attendees who come to town. So this facility will also provide another venue, of course, for local events and gatherings. I'm going to guess there'll be a few chamber events in this building once it's up and running too. So once again, thank you all for your support in this project. I'm glad that not just my persistence, but the persistence of our staff and the rest of the community that supports this project helped us push it over the finish line. We're excited to hopefully have a project picked by this fall, and maybe construction can start in 2026. If you want to scan, oh, I went too far, sorry. If you want to scan that QR code, it'll take you to more information. You can always call us. Don't be afraid to call us. We love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie, Robert, and Ted for providing these updates. If you want to learn more about these projects, you can scan the QR code on your tables for more details. I'd now like to invite our mayors to the stage. Please welcome Mayor Dardis, Mayor Trudeau, Mayor Mahoney, Mayor Carlson, and Mayor Olson. Let's give them a round of applause.
We can see everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis, Mahoney, Carlson, and Olson for joining us again for this year's State of the Cities. Mayor Trudeau, a warm welcome to you for your first time on stage with these distinguished characters. We are fortunate to have such dedicated public servants leading our region's cities, and we're thrilled to have you all here today. I'd now like to invite each of you to provide welcome, brief remarks before we jump into the questions. We will start with Mayor Dardis and work our way down the line. Mayor Dardis.
Thank you, Tony. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today with the Chamber of Commerce. My warm welcomes and quick recovery goes out to Shannon Full, who's not with us today. She's a very dear friend, and we're thinking of you, Shannon. We're glad you're here. A special thank you also to all of you that are sponsors for this. I served on the Chamber Board for 7 years, and I know what that means for the programming and the events that they can do. So thank you so very much. I'd like to say that in 2024, we had 2 commissioners that chose not to run for re-election, Mark Clemens, who served with us for 20 years, and Mandy George, who served with us for 4 years. We elected 2 new commissioners, and I'm very proud to say that Rory Jorgensen and Dr. Amy Zundell has joined the commission along with Robin Anderson, myself, and Brad Olson. So that's a good year in itself that we had great leaders that have retired, and we have great leaders that have replaced them. I want to invite you all to a March 17th open house in the city of West Fargo at our new facility, our new city hall. In that transition, the West Fargo Police Department has taken over the entire old city hall footprint because of the growth that we've experienced in our first responders. The diversion, Mr. Wilson was up here talking about that. West Fargo will benefit from the diversion protection that we're going to have to the west. West Fargo will have at least 8,500 to 9,000 acres of new protected land that's in our extraterritorial. That, along with the 600 acres of the recommissioning of the lagoons, along with the stockyards that are being redeveloped, and another new development to the west, the Sandhills development, will mean great growth for the city of West Fargo in 2025. We also have a road raise that's going to be taking place on 9th Street Northeast. Not road rage, road raise. I caught a couple engineers looking at me like, what the hell's he talking about? So this is, we got a 23 million plus grant for that, and so that'll be taking place on 9th Street. And for those of you that aren't familiar with West Fargo, it's the street immediately to the west of the tank farm. Child care improvement plan that we had, led by Casey Sanders Berglund, has been amazing. We have reinvested into the city of West Fargo's daycare providers $535,000 in 2024 for improvements so they could spend their money on salaries and getting great staff. The West Fargo Parks, we had a retirement of Barb Erbstasser, who is retired after 35 years of serving our community. And Dr. Amy Zundel is our new Parks Director. I would like to remind everybody that in February, there's going to be a major school bond referendum that takes place again. I would ask respectfully of those of you that live in the West Fargo School District to educate yourselves and vote as your heart desires. With that, thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis. Mayor Trudeau.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. Some of the highlights from 2024 include the City of Horace issued 286 new single-family house permits, which was coincidentally 17% of all of those same permits for the entire state of North Dakota. But I'm not here to rub permit numbers in the faces of the other mayors. Instead, I'd rather talk about the fun stuff that makes our city great. Every year, the City of Horace puts on multiple family-oriented events. We partner with our local Lions Club, area businesses, and developers to help sponsor our events. Last year, we had over 36,000 eggs for our annual Easter egg hunt. And even though it took hours to set up, all of those eggs were picked up by over 600 kids in less than 3 minutes. We had our yearly Bean Days celebration in September, our record number of 110 floats being entered into this year's parade. Our schools participated in the parade and they had their own competitions for who had the best entry. Thousands of dollars of candy were thrown out to the residents that lined our city streets. We did learn a valuable lesson from that day as well, that we need way more candy. A couple of weeks ago, we had our annual Christmas celebration, our holidays, which featured total craft vendors and games and events for the kids. Back in October, we had our Spooktacular Hometown Halloween event, and that event has grown so large that we need to host it at Heritage Middle School. And speaking of schools, let's not forget to give a shout out to our Horace Hawks sports teams for their success over the past year. Congratulations to our girls volleyball team on making it to the EDC championship match, the girls swim team for their EDC championship, and the boys football team for their state championship season. I would also like to give a quick shameless plug to our West Fargo School District. With our continued growth, our schools are bursting at the seams. Please remember to vote on February 17th. Horace wants to retain their small town feel. We want people to actively participate in our community. We welcome volunteers for events. We ask for input in our downtown neighborhood plan. And we will ask for future input for our city hall. We were recently selected as a North Dakota Cares community to honor our active service members and our veterans. So to anyone that is curious as to what we are all about, feel free to come on down to Horace and experience it for yourself. Everything that I've brought up today, whether it's the family-oriented events, the pride in our schools, or the focus on community, are just some of the things of that small town feel. I truly believe this is what sets us apart, and this is why the city of Horace is the place that people want to move to and raise their families. With that, to the chamber, thank you for hosting us this morning, and I look forward to today's event.
Thank you, Mayor Trudeau. Dr. Tim Mahoney, Mayor of Fargo, you're next.
Thank you. Thanks for extra time there, Jeff. I appreciate it. Looking back in 2024, I am so proud of what our community has accomplished. As we step into a new year, I'm excited for what 2025 will hold. The City of Fargo continues to excel in all categories thanks to the dedication of our residents, businesses, and Team Fargo. Together, Fargo is achieving great things by showcasing strength through collaboration. iPad's not working right, but it's going okay now. As a team, we are tackling difficult tasks to better our entire region. Our collaborative efforts are driving us forward into a future where our community will be even stronger, safer, and more resilient. A prime example of this is the Fargo-Moorhead Diversion Project that we just went over today. It continues on schedule with our community on track for permanent flood protection in 2027. This year, the Fargo Fire Department worked together with our colleagues in West Fargo and Moorhead to have a host of world-class training academies. We graduated 14 firefighters, ensuring all stations are fully staffed, including the newly built Station 8 in South Fargo. By collaborating and listening to residents' concerns about unsafe driving, Fargo Police revived its traffic safety team in September. This group of officers are cracking down on dangerous driving and those loud mufflers everybody hates across the city. We now have 6 officers focusing exclusively on ensuring safer roadways for our community. Through decades of strategic planning and collaborating with community stakeholders, Fargo is crafting a vision for the future. Big projects like the Hector International Airport expansion and the parking garage, Fargo Park's new sports center, the growth of the regional water reclamation plant. These projects are taking Fargo to the next level. This past year, Fargo consistently worked to address the root causes of homelessness, an issue facing cities around the nation. Fargo has partnered with United Way of Cass Clay and the FM Coalition to End Homelessness, 2 nonprofits finding housing solutions through evidence-based strategy. The city is taking on a supportive role as we continue to provide services such as winter warming for our most vulnerable residents. In November, voters made their voices heard regarding the need for a convention center in Fargo. Voters also took a stand on our public safety professionals by approving a sales tax dedicated to funding our police and fire departments. Both these measures will generate revenue to support our outstanding city services now and into the future. We need to recognize that we are living in a multiple award-winning and internationally recognized community. That is why Fargo is committed to honoring everyday excellence it thrives for in this city. Fargo's water plant won 2nd in the nation for People's Choice in competition for best tasting water. Our plant has also earned the National Facility of the Year Award for our efficiency and lean operations. Every day, Fargo employees continue to dedicate themselves to essential work that keeps our city running safely and smoothly. We strive to build a community that not only meets today's needs, but also inspires tomorrow's possibilities. Because I only have 3 minutes today or less, I encourage all of you to do more about us at fargond.gov/2025. Let's keep building a bright and shiny future today, one step at a time. Thank you all. The other thing, I left some swag for all the mayors here because I don't know if any of you know, but the NDSU Bison won the national championship for the 10th time. And I'd like to say to Coach Tim, yes, you made Fargo proud when you did that. That was a fantastic game. And it's just a pleasure to see the dedication of our community and the people that follow the Bison. So thanks, everybody.
Good job.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. Mayor Carlson.
Yeah, for those of you who couldn't see, I was able to see Mayor Mahoney's tablet over here, and he had to close out the Amazon Prime for shoes. So that's why he had to struggle a little bit there, but next time I'll help you out. But first, thank you very much to the Chamber for all of the event sponsors, Ted Horan, Robert Wilson, Charlie Johnson. Thank you guys for that very all the illuminating information that you shared with us today, and for all of you to, attending this morning to making this event such a wonderful thing to look forward to every single year. Mayor Trudeau, you can join us. This is the person that we enjoy kind of, helping make fun of a little bit. Anyway, last year I wore an orange suit to really prepare everybody for the construction that would be happening in the city of Moorhead. And when you drive around Moorhead, you can see I was not kidding. We have a ton of construction going up. So visually, you can see Moorhead is really coming up roses. There are tons of projects happening, thank you. There are tons of projects happening all over the city, but we're doing a lot more than just building brick and mortar structures. What we're doing is we are building a future for ourselves, for our children and our grandchildren. I want to thank our 3 former council members who left the council this past year, which was Matt Gilbertson, Laura Caroon, and Larry Soldevald, and welcome our 3 new council members, Nicole Matson, Emily Moore, and Lisa Borgen. I know that they will help continue this trajectory that we have in Moorhead. I'm not going to talk a lot about the downtown Moorhead projects because Ted Horan did an excellent job of that, but all I can say is stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. Downtown Moorhead is going to become a destination for all. And speaking of destinations, I do want to say 2 words. It might be 4, but I'm going to say it's 2. Indoor pickleball. Okay, I expect a lot more excitement. Thank you. So we are eagerly anticipating a new indoor pickleball facility on the south of A Street and are thrilled that Courts and Pints chose to invest in Moorhead. I think it takes a lot of vision to see an empty grocery store and think pickleball. And when we see buildings transformed, we are also seeing spaces transformed for unique events and experience. Like Ted was saying, events like the sunset on the riverfront, on American Crystal Sugar, and the Discovery Trail Walk are just 2 of some of the experiences that we're creating in Moorhead. The other thing that we are really leaning into is something as a Green Step 5 city in Minnesota is a sustainability and resiliency in our community, which is one of the reasons I think that DG Fuels, it's this $5 billion project that is looking at Moorhead to be a site for a sustainable aviation fuel product. We are really grateful to the state of Minnesota and Greater MSP for their work to site this facility in our city. The scope and production is going to be huge for a regional economy, and we look forward to determining what the next steps are needed to move the project forward. I have a ton of other things, so I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to respond to them and other questions, but just want to say thank you again to everybody here today, and fingers crossed that Shannon gets well soon.
Well done as always, Mayor. Well done. Thank you for the flowers. I love flowers.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson. Mayor Olson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a distinct honor to be a part of this program, to represent the city of Dilworth, and really highlight all that's been accomplished in 2024. First, I do want to say a speedy recovery to Shannon. I mean, she's in the foremost part of our minds as I just want to let her know, too, like, hey, everything's going great. Her leadership is evident even in her absence because her staff is leading the way flawlessly, and it's evident in the perfect execution of the program today. So, again, speedy recovery and all the best. To the Chamber as a whole, thank you for your commitment to fostering partnerships between the business community, leading the way in the political sphere as we navigate the legislative challenges. And Dilworth has been a beneficiary of the efforts of the Chamber. And of course, to the sponsors, this event is made possible by you. But big picture, the success, the economic success, the social success of our region is a product of your continued investment in our region. So again, thank you all for everything that you do to make our region an example to the rest of the country. The city of Dilworth in 2024, it was great to see progress actually being made. Our fire department has gone from concept on paper to construction. We have 4 walls, a roof, the apparatus bay is done, the training tower is done. It'll be completely inhabitable within the first half of this year. And then from that in 2025, we get to move on to the training part of the fire department along with the administrative wing. So we're looking forward to that being complete in our very near future. 2024, we spent a tremendous amount of time informing the public of our local options sales tax. It's interesting the power of misinformation. We spent a lot of time with presentations, pop-up informations, pontification. It was absolutely intense. But we were very fortunate. In 2024, our voters overwhelmingly supported the idea of a local options sales tax that's going to support our future community and recreational center on the east side of town. That was monumental. First time in the history of Dilworth where we were able to accomplish that goal. And I'm looking forward to 2025 where we plan what that's going to look like, what that's going to include, and how we best meet the needs of our citizens. Again, with business on the horizon, Dilworth is continuing to grow. And every year for, I believe it's 14 years now, I've tried to highlight the Star City Business of the Year in Dilworth. And this year we have two. We welcomed in 2024 we had Tractor Supply Company earned the new Business of the Year as they relocated from Moorhead into Dilworth and repurposed an existing infrastructure. They grew and we were able to work collaboratively. And I'm sorry, but you did get El Tony's away back, so whatever.
Don't forget pickleball.
I'll be there. And the other one too, just quickly, Valley Hardwood. Valley Hardwood suffered a devastating fire, small business, but they're coming back to Dilworth. They're reinvesting, they're bigger, they're better than ever. And I think that's a testament to the success that we have as a community and as a region. Again, thank you to the Chamber, Get Well Shannon, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Olson. All right, now it's time for some Q&A. Just remember that you can submit your questions for the mayors by scanning the QR code on your table or visiting chamberquestions.com in your web browser. This conversation will include a series of questions directed at individual mayors as well as the questions for them collectively. Each mayor will have 90 seconds to answer the questions so we can get as many questions in as possible. By my clock, we have 1 hour before we're going to wrap up, so we have a full hour. Mayors, please take note of the timer in front of you. That's you, Dr. Mayor Mahoney. So let's dive into the questions. We're going to start with Mayor Olson in Dilworth. In the general election this November, the voters of Dilworth approved a sales tax increase to fund a new community center. The city also recently acquired land north of town for the creation of a new park. Can you speak more about these projects and what they mean for your community?
Yeah, it's been busy. What they mean collectively is a better experience in living in Dilworth, right? Our communities across the board are looking to create a living space where people are comfortable and confident in coming home. Where, and honestly, believe it or not, when kids move away and go to college and they have their experience, that they're willing to come back and reinvest in their community. So when we talk about the park space on the north side of town, we'll have passive and active recreational space. I mean, we're talking the better part of 40 acres where, the sky gets to be the limit. We have a blank slate where we get to take our time and craft the amenities that our city wants. On the east side, that is where we have planned for our community center, and this is a game changer. This has the potential to change how we design the layout of the neighborhoods, what the developer is able to do, how we collaborate with a private partner to ensure not just the community center's in the right spot, but it's positioned in a correct way where it's accessible and it leads us into a residential as well as business areas in a seamless and flawless manner, right? So where it becomes an epicenter of future growth in a positive and pragmatic fashion to ensure the success of the entire city. It's really an all-encompassing opportunity that we have sitting before us this year.
Thank you. Mayor Carlson, Moorhead is in the process of completing a number of infrastructure projects, as you noted in your opening remarks, including the downtown revitalization, the Romkey Park renovation, and the 11th Street underpass. Please highlight the vision and current progress of these projects and how they will shape the future of Moorhead.
Well, it's hard to even, I think, expand on what Ted Horan said, but I know I'm going to be able to, because, for instance, the Romkey Park, that was a $5 million matching grant that we got from the U.S. Department of Interior. worked really closely with Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith to be able to get those funds to really renovate an area of town that had been needing it for a long time. Our local swimming pool was about 55 years old. I spoke with one of the individuals who would do some of the fixing on the pool, and you couldn't even purchase the different supplies that were needed. He had to use a 3D printer. So when you have to create your own supplies to fix up a pool, you know that it's time. That's going to be really, really helpful for that community, or that part of Moorhead. But we're building on the south side with Moorhead Vision, with a new Starbucks that went in that part of town, Highway 10, all the East 10 mall spaces are filled as well. That's going to be a project that we're going to be looking at into the future. And then, of course, our downtown Moorhead project with 18 plus acres. I don't know when you ever get to reimagine an entire downtown and actually put streets back in. And that's going to be, you know, years in the making, because you can't just do it all at once. So it's going to be a phased approach. So I can't wait in 5 years to see what downtown Moorhead's going to be.
Thank you. Mayor Trudeau, as your city continues to grow, what are some of the major infrastructure projects on the horizon for Horace, and how will you move these infrastructure projects forward?
Okay, so going forward, we are looking at having another connection to Fargo for our sanitary sewer system. Currently, we're looking at the different options as far as funding. We do plan on probably using low interest rate loans from the state to help finance that project. I know I've talked with Mr. Mahoney about it before. They want to start moving on that project and have it done within the next year and a half. The other projects that we have going on may be a possible street, 9th Street or 8th Street, on the west side of town, connecting up into West Fargo. I realize that we've probably been in the news earlier this year for a gate. It would help alleviate that problem, and for financing for that, that would come through special assessments.
Thank you.
Yep.
We're going to ad lib a little bit. We're going to use Bundle A for West Fargo and Fargo. How many have seen the Bundle A commercial? I'm sure everybody has. 2 questions from the audience. We're going to Bundle A into Fargo and West Fargo. So the question's on the screen for Mayor Mahoney. Can you talk about the future of the Fargo Dome and the Civic Center? As I'll add that to the question about infrastructure. And then Mayor Dardis, can you talk about the Red River Valley Fairgrounds and the future of the fair as its proximity to the city of Fargo? So we'll start with West Fargo with the Red River Valley Fair question, as well as talk about West Fargo's process in developing the growth area master plan for the city, the focus on extraterritorial expansion, and can you speak more about the vision of this plan and what infrastructure projects will be essential for the city's expansion, factoring in the Red River Valley Fairgrounds, of course.
You need help, Ernie?
You are.
We have a great relationship with the Red River Valley Fair, being an immediate neighbor to the west, and obviously the Cass County Commission has the jurisdiction over that. It's not in the city of West Fargo, and they're great partners to work with as well. So, you know, I would guess that Cody Cashman, the director of the Red River Valley Fair, and I talk at least once a month. I know we've talked twice this week already, so on some of the ideas that he has and how that might be, because it's in our jurisdiction with regard to planning and zoning. So we have a great relationship. I think that the leadership and the board of the Red River Valley Fair is amazing and has great benefit for all of our communities with all the different programming and the things that they're doing. So it's great. With regard to some of the other things and the other, when we talk about that, we talk about the stockyards, that's about 57 acres. We talk about recommissioning the lagoons, that's 600 acres. We talk about newly protected land that's in our extraterritorial, that's 8,500 to 9,000 acres. Now those are going to be at the direction of those people, the property owners of those. But we have a master plan that we're working on right now as to how we would utilize those types of acreages, if you will, because it isn't just like several lots, it's large parcels. And with those large parcels cause a lot of thinking about how we're going to do it with light commercial, residential, and the like.
Thank you. Mayor Mahoney, A major infrastructure development in the Fargo area and the larger region is the Red River Valley Water Supply Project, which will bring water from the Missouri River to our communities. Can you provide the audience with an update on this project and what plans are there to seek financial support from the state and federal level, and how that will benefit the new convention center, new water supply?
We always have to have these big infrastructure projects. So the diversion's $3 billion, the Red River Valley Water Supply is 1.2 billion, basically. And what's going on there, we're already at 10-20% into the build, and it basically will advance water from McCluskey Canal across to the Cheyenne, then can come down into the valley, and we can utilize it for drought protection. The project is moving along very nicely at this point. We're going back to the state for 210 million at this time, hoping to fund it over the next 3 bienniums and continue the growth or continue the construction as planned. The other element of that is we've gone to the federal government and asked them for $428 million as well to help share some of the costs. And what we're really trying to do is to get your costs down, because if we do drought protection, ultimately it may reflect in a utility bill in which we have to pay for the project and pay for part of the project. So what we're trying to do working with the state is to utilize as much state money, federal money, to make the local share the least amount for everybody in this room. So what we're working on is with the legislative body at this time to go through that and make sure we continue to have strong support for that. In light of what happened in California, they had a drought, and you can see what firefights happen when those things happen. We had a drought in this area right now. It would have a catastrophic effect on our economics. So the reality is we need flood protection, we need drought protection. I feel that the project is moving along nicely, and we just as a community have to strongly support that to move forward.
Any Fargo Dome? A little extra time?
I got time. Okay, well, Fargo Dome, what we're going to do is the Fargo Dome Authority is going to look at a remodel of some sort. They have to relook at what they can do and what could help to enhance many of the things. We have some ADA requirements we have to look at, so they will come back to the plan to the commission of what they'd like to do. And then, actually, when I'm talking about the Civic Center, I'm talking about 3 properties. We have the Fargo Police Department, we have the Public Health Building, and we have the Civic Center. And just like Moorhead loves to rejuvenate their downtown, I want to have some rejuvenation of part of our downtown. The Civic Center is very much underutilized, and what can you do about that? So I asked the commission last night, let's go out and ask the community, hey, what do you think we can do with it? Can we activate it? If you activate the quadrant, Civic Center quadrant in that area that has activity, people, things happening, that's what you really need to do in your downtown areas, have activation, people moving around, and things happening. That will revitalize our downtown and continue to make it the entertainment center and the core center of our community. So we will look forward to next couple of months, see what people come up with, and try to give you some definitive plans of where we're going next.
Thank you. Next, we're going to shift to city operations. We'll start with Fargo, West Fargo, and Horace, respectively. Last November, the general election ballot, a constitutional amendment was proposed which would eliminate property taxes in North Dakota. This movement was accompanied by a large concern about local government spending. Can you speak more about your city's budgeting process and how you plan to work with ensure prudent spending and the legislative session with the current proposal? Mayor Mahoney?
What was the question?
Well,
I thought you'd already asked mine.
Budgeting.
Well, would you like me to repeat the question?
Property tax.
Apparently.
Oh, property tax. Sorry.
Here we go. Mayor Darris will follow, and then Mayor Trudeau. North Dakota's general election ballot last fall, a constitutional amendment proposing elimination of property taxes was defeated, as we know. This movement was accompanied by a large concern about local spending. Can you speak more about your city's budgeting process and how you plan to work to ensure prudent spending, and also with the proposed legislation now with property tax reform?
I thought I was off the hook here. Holy cow. Your governor has advanced a proposal to address the property taxes, which I think is a bold proposal starting out just as he starts as governor. I think it's a concern that we have all had in our communities, property taxes, evaluations, what happens in your community. And for all of us, we've seen a 7% rise in valuations over the last 10 years. So everybody in their housing has noticed that their houses are getting more and more expensive. To build the houses is getting more and more expensive. So the state with Legacy Fund, I feel, has to do something in regards to this. We have to address it in some way to try to look at what can we do to reduce property taxes throughout the state, especially in our elderly population, fixed incomes. What are they going to do, and we're going to move them out of their homes if they don't do something about it. So I'm very encouraged with what the state wants to do. On the spending part, what happens is, we all know, is our costs went up with inflation, our cost of materials, our cost of what we need to do in the city also went up at the same time. So we do everything we can do. My long-term goal as I leave this office is to have sustainability. My vision of the city of Fargo is let's have a sustainable budget that we can manage and people can live with. We did not go up any mills this year, and we'll continue to try to do that. But I think every government system, we all look at how can I keep our costs down as much as possible. But the driving forces for all of us is personnel and the people. And in a community, we have to stay competitive, because then I lose my guys who run the snow plows to go to the private sector if I don't keep competitive. So one of the most difficult tasks of any of us is we have to keep a competitive workforce so we give great services. And we'll continue to do that. But all of us are always looking at what do we try to do to keep taxpayers' costs down and their burden down. So I think in partnership with the state, we should make some great advances next year.
Thank you. Mayor Dardis?
I think that Governor Armstrong's property tax reform plan, as he proposed this week, is very innovative. I think that I'm hopeful that the general public will have the patience as you looked at it. If you look at his plan, that it's not only in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, that the great residents of the state of North Dakota have the patience to see how that incrementally continues to improve. $1,500 is what he started as his starting point with property tax relief for the public. And of course, they're also talking about caps. Now, the caps are an interesting dynamic for anybody that serves a local jurisdiction, elected officials, because of the growth. My friends to the south, for example, Horace, with the immense growth that they're experiencing. You know, Jeff talked about how many houses they built in Horace last year. We built 144 new homes in West Fargo. But the value of our homes are so much higher, with all due respect, but they are. And so the property tax proposals that are there, I met with, 2 weeks ago, I met with the chairman of the Tax and Finance of the House of Representatives, Representative Craig Hedlund, and with the chairman of the Senate Finance and Tax, Senator Mark Weber, and talking about those caps and how that might be. One thing that we all are going to have to understand is there's baseline budgeting, and that's a new term that's being introduced to city and state financial as far as they move that forward.
Thank you, Mayor Dardis. Mayor Trudeau.
All right. Is my mic on yet? Nope. All right, I'll talk loud. To answer your question, Tony, the city of Horace works hard to maintain our budget every year. We have not raised our mills in over 5 years. In fact, we lowered it once. That may not always be the case. We do have increased costs coming for our operations. As Mr. Mahoney said, it is difficult to try to maintain wages for our employees to make sure that they are competitive with the private industry. Our city does work very hard. We have a very lean staff, and I hope our residents actually appreciate that we don't have a bloated staff. We try to keep our costs to a minimum. To answer the question that's on the monitor, which I think both of these guys answered, is how do I feel about the tax reform that Governor Armstrong has proposed? The city of Horace is different than our two neighbors. We do have a need for a cap. I truly do believe that. But as our city grows, we have to try to capture that new construction tax. If we cap it right away, we're going to be missing out on a lot of money. There is going to be some additional talk that needs to happen to determine if they are excluding new construction out of that and how long they actually exclude that. So,
thank you. Mayor Carlson, ready? Moorhead City Council recently voted to approve their 2025 budget. which is an increase, slightly increased from the 2024 budget. Can you speak more about the city's budgeting process and the need for the additional funds?
Yes, very happy to. You know, one of the things that we have started in the city of Moorhead is, as a council, we've started working early in the year and having discussions about the budget. We have all the executive leadership staff and our council that sit down and discuss issues that have risen up, and the departments are there to be able to answer and respond to questions that we might have related to funding requests. We start this in the spring because by September in the state of Minnesota, we have to approve a preliminary budget. Once a preliminary budget is approved, then we still work and refine and have a lot of discussions about what is going to be the final budget. We ended up going a little bit higher this year. Part of it was due to the fact that the state of Minnesota increased the amount of money that could be put towards a homestead property tax. So that number increased, thereby we weren't able to gather as much funding from property tax. We wanted to make sure that our city employees, as Mayor Trudeau mentioned, we want to make sure that our city employees are compensated adequately for the amount of work that they do, giving back to the community. The staff of Moorhead works extremely hard. They could probably go and make quite a bit more money in the private sector, but they choose to be in the public sector because they are wanting to give back to the community. We have 5 unions within the city of Moorhead, and that's one of the additional challenges that we have sometimes is working with our unions and making sure that we're able to come to a good resolution with each of them so that we can move forward, and that always affects our budget too.
Thank you. Mayor Olson, in 2025, Dilworth will update its comprehensive plan with a focus on land use strategies to support residential growth. Can you speak more about the process and how you will ensure residents' voices are heard?
It promises to be an interesting process, that's for sure. Collectively, we completed our metro area housing study recently, and taking that into consideration, how we grow our cities in a responsible manner is the responsibility not only of the city of Dilworth, but of our community as a whole. I look forward to the opportunity to see how developers look to transform our living landscape with different housing options, different single-family options, and what the layout is. What's the demand? How do you want to call it, the COVID mansions that were financed by 2% interest rates, that's not the norm anymore. I think that's going to have a significant impact. And how that impacts our development long range, we have our 8th Avenue study, for example, which is going to connect the east and west side of town and run primarily through a residential area in our new North Side Park. What does that look like? So taking a solid minute to explore options, to look across the country, to look to our metro neighbors, to see how they've done it and how they've done it correctly, is going to be an opportunity for Dilworth to set themselves up for future success, both residentially and commercially moving forward. So 2025 and our master plan in that session, which I think is going to start next month, is going to be a fantastic opportunity, and I'm hoping by 2025 I can share the results.
Thank you. We're going to move to economic development and lead off with Mayor Carlson. Mayor, you noted on your intro the DG Fuels project identified Moorhead as a shovel-ready industrial site for the potential location of a $5 billion sustainable aviation fuel plant. Get your heads around that, $5 billion, the diversion $3 billion, bringing 650 jobs to the region. Can you speak more about this project, highlight the impact this could have on our region, what additional steps need to be taken to bring the project of this size to Moorhead?
Yes, it is a little bit hard to wrap your head around when you're talking about a $5 billion project. We submitted an RFP probably about 20 months ago and recently heard back in November that we were one of the sites that was selected for the DG Fuels aviation fuel supply facility. The site is south of the interstate, east of RDO and in between RDO and our airport. I think part of the reason that we were selected is the state of Minnesota has the reimbursement on, I don't remember what the number is off the top of my head, but about $1.50 of the fuel is already paid for by the state of Minnesota. We are going to be really working with all of our state commissioners to figure out what exactly needs to happen. Two of the things that we'll be looking forward to is the U.S. Department of Interior. So likely we'll be visiting with former Governor Burgum in regards to what we need to do on the federal level. But Senator Klobuchar, Senator Smith, and Representative Fischbach are very involved, and we've already had conversations with each one of them, and they have offered to help in any way, shape, and form they can. We also have Greater MSP, MSP, who has really been a strong advocate and an ally for us. And all of our state commissioners and legislators are also very involved with working with us on this project. This next year is really going to be figuring out what are the different permittings that we have to work through, but still hoping that in 2026, late 26, 27, that we will have some shovels that will be in the ground and starting to build.
Take the shovels from the diversion and transfer them to this project.
Exactly. Exactly. We have a lot of shovels from the diversion project.
Mayor Trudeau, it's projected that the population of Horace will grow to a population of over 15,000 residents by 2050, and the city's subdivisions are filling up quicker than anticipated. Can you highlight how the city is working to incentivize further business development to accompany this rapid residential growth, while also mentioning the goals of Horace Downtown Neighborhood Plan?
Okay. Once again, I'll talk loud, I guess. So the city right now is looking to determine what is the best options for the use of our land. We only have so much land right now. We realize that there is a need for housing of all different types. And right now we are trying to figure out the best areas to put all that housing. Our downtown neighborhood plan, we did reach out to our public to get suggestions on where they would like to see it and how they would like to see it. Currently we're reviewing all that information. We're trying to figure out the different areas of town where we even want to have or have considered to be our downtown area. Once again, we are looking at how are we going to best use the property that we have. We have yet to talk about any type of incentives for bringing in businesses to that downtown area. We're waiting to see if the governor himself removes or asks to have removed some of those incentive plans from the state of North Dakota. So prior to all of that, the city is willing to work with developers to try to have beautiful developments of multiple different types of housing. We just would like to plan out where they would like to have that at.
Thank you. Mayor Olson. As part of the Community and Recreation Center project, Dilworth is taking a strategic, long-term approach by master planning the eastern commercial area, i.e. the rail district. How do you envision this area evolving, and what steps is the city taking to ensure the community remains engaged and supportive of these developments?
That community engagement piece is so important because, believe it or not, City Hall doesn't have all the answers, and neither do I. It's interesting because the best ideas come from the people who've experienced other opportunities, right? So as we're looking to begin the planning process, community input is essential. Subject matter expertise is essential. Had an opportunity to visit with the Arts Partnership, right? Just had a cup of coffee and just the whole idea of how we construct this to make it visually appealing from the outside, and how is it warm and welcoming on the inside. Those are things that I've never considered before. I'm like, okay, let's build this thing and put some stuff in it. I'm a dude. I don't do interior design. I'm not stereotyping either, but I don't. Like, hey, 4 walls, it's got air conditioning, we're good. But this is significant, and so that public participation is the key, right? This is built for the public. What do you want? How do we do it? Like, people have done this and they've made mistakes. I don't want to make those, right? So through experience and through conversations and collaboration, right, I just want to steal the best ideas from the best people that are out there in order to provide the best product. And in all honesty, I'll say it again, I don't have all the answers, but the answers lie within our community and in that participation. So it's going to be essential. And we'll encourage them at every turn. And that's going to be the honestly, the most difficult part is to engage the public, to get them inside, to have them participate and say, hey, this is for you. I want to hear what you have to say, and I look forward to that, so it's going to be fun.
Thank you. Mayor Dardis, in early 2024, West Fargo approved a master plan for downtown development. This plan outlined 4 major goals, one of which focuses on business and economic development. Can you highlight the goals and the master plan and specifically mention how the city plans to execute on these goals?
Certainly. Through the leadership of our economic development personnel, Casey Sanders Berglund has been recruiting businesses throughout the region, and they've been contacting us. So we have what's called some enterprise grants. We have some grants that's basically for the facades and those types of things. That's up to $75,000 of economic development sales tax dollars. It's not the public dollars, it's sales tax dollars. And so, we continue to work with that. West Fargo Events, who is a branch and arm of the city of West Fargo, in conjunction with leadership from the West Fargo Public Schools, the West Fargo Park District, and the city of West Fargo. That programming and the things that we bring to those public spaces in downtown, the MIA POW Plaza. I'd invite you all to come out in February. We're going to have some new ice sculptures. We've done that for 3 years in a row. The young people, the children, absolutely love that type of thing. We have that there. We have, in the summertime, we have all of the military statues for all the different armed services branches. We want to be known as one of those communities, Community Cares, that has great respect and for our veterans. So there's a lot of programming that goes on there. The West Fest Parade, there's just numerous activities. And it's a joint conjunction between the city of Fargo, the West Fargo Parks Districts, and even sometimes the West Fargo Public Schools is involved in it as well.
Thank you. We're going to stay under economic development and close this section out with Mayor Mahoney. City of Fargo's 2024 growth plan, it recommends the city update its economic development incentives to achieve optimal growth outcomes. Can you briefly overview the strategies for growth outlined in the plan and specifically highlight how incentives may be adjusted to spur economic development?
So what our growth plan discovered is that the city of Fargo 90% of the time was growing south. Basically, we're growing into the south area. And what the growth study came out with is that we need to look at infill. So change your figures a little bit. Maybe you should do 60, 70% of growth south, but 30 to 40% of growth infill. If you start to do that, then you need to look at your incentives. What are you incentivizing? So the growth plan basically says, look at your incentives and see what we can do. Our incentives are only 1 to 2% of our tax base. Return on our incentives are 40 to 1. So whenever we have done an incentive, the growth of something that starts at a certain value, and by the time it's done and completed, it increases the taxable value that it pays to the city. What we're looking at on our incentives is instead of just doing an incentive, let's get a great response from that incentive. So on the growth plan, it's going to have certain centers, economic centers and areas in the city that you want to grow and you want to build out. One of the glaring things that you have is you go down to Davies High School, there's really not a 7-Eleven or any kind of a convenience store that's close to that. And if you're building a walkable, bikeable community, you want to have areas where people can go to that are relatively close to where they live. So when we look at our growth plan and we're looking at what's going on in the future, is how you build your neighborhoods and what happens. And the diversion is a curse in some ways because it sets a footprint of how big our city can get. So what we look at now is everything that we add to this city is we know eventually we'll have limited capacity. So you look at everything you add in the community, what you want to incentivize, what you'd like to see. Apartment buildings are no longer 4 stories. Apartment buildings are 6, 7 stories. Apartment buildings used to have all surface parking. Now they have parking in the building. You begin to look at different things that maximize density, but also maximize livability where people are comfortable in those spaces. So I think you'll see some changes with our growth plan of what we're going to incentivize and what we think people should look at to building.
Thank you. We're going to move to public safety for our mayors to give their perspectives on some questions, but I'm going to go back to the screen. I was going to pause and go back to the prior question. Can we pull that prior question up? It's for Mayor Mahoney. What do you believe is the cause of the rising vacancy in downtown area, and what do you think could help improve the business and housing occupancy?
In the downtown business area, when we started to do apartments, we did a housing study, and we need to do 17,000 apartments in the next 10 years, basically, or 17,000 housing units in the next 10 years. And when Mercantile first opened, within 3 months, it was 95% occupied. That was at a time in which we didn't have a lot of apartments downtown. Now you have Epic, Enclave, you have Kilbourne, you have at least 5 or 6 different offerings that are in the downtown area that you never had before. So in my mind, the reason the vacancy is up right now is one of the reasons is you just have so many offerings. And I went through many open houses, and basically the people I was talking to were looking at 3 or 4 different apartment offerings and choices to where they wanted to live. So it does make it that your vacancy is going to rise. Now, in our community, what people are used to, a vacancy of 3 to 4%, which is extremely low, because when you're at 3 to 4%, it's hard to keep with the housing needs in your community when we're having 2,000 to 3,000 people move into our metro area. We've encouraged Horace, and we've encouraged West Fargo and Moorhead to add more apartments and to add more housing, and everybody's working on that. Even Dilworth is having a housing project, right there. Chad, you guys keep building stuff all the time?
Believe it or not, there are.
Oh, you got your mic off, too bad. Okay, but anyway, what we have is in our community, you're going to have a wing up and down. And this year, apartment building is down, and that's precisely because the vacancies are up right now. But again, the governor just talked about this the other day. We are the #1 state in the nation for people moving into the state because of employability, economics, livability, cost of living. And as we continue to have people move into our communities, I feel that vacancy rates will start to come back down. But that's what you're going to have for a while. We used to just always have it real close together, but this is the first time we've had more than we've had to have in the community. The other thing is that we also will approve some of the things downtown in which we are trying to work to try to make the climate in the experience to something that everybody's comfortable with and enjoys to being part of. Our downtown is one of the best jewels we have in this metro area, and we will continue to make it an area where people want to be, want to play. And for many people in the room, it's a new neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that is growing, and the neighbors want it to be the neighborhood that they love and love to enjoy.
Thank you. We're going to move to public safety, and I think a question that was on the screen is about EMS ambulances, so we can kind of cover that if you want to blend that question into your questions that we have prepared as well. We're going to start with Mayor Dardis. And that question on the screen is, what is being done to address the critical shortage of ambulances and EMS workers in our cities? So as we talk about public safety, you want to comment on that, we'll bundle A again. Mayor Dardis, the Cass County Jail is overcrowded and short-staffed. This has resulted in a strain on the services that they can provide, as well as other governmental services that supplement them. How can localities like West Fargo work collectively to address these challenges?
I receive a police report every morning as to what transpired in the 24 hours before, as do my fellow commissioners, making us aware of what's on the street and what they're dealing with. I congratulated Sheriff Johnner just this morning on the meeting that he had with Clay County and Sheriff Mark Empting over there, where Clay County is going to take up to 10. And thanks to your leadership, Tony, you going before the state of North Dakota and working on some possible funding for this. It is absolutely critical that we address this issue. And I'm not saying that we have to police our way out of it or lock them up, because there are a lot of these folks that are in there for drug reasons and mental health reasons, not for criminal activity in the sense of pure criminal activity. So we're going to leave that to our Chief Nielsen, Sheriff Johnner, that expertise. But the county, which runs the Cass County Jail, has got to be critically important and partners with us and understanding. When we're returning people that have felonies back on the street on a daily basis, we need to fix that. We need to fix it because public safety is at risk. With regard to EMS workers, 3 weeks ago, our fire chief, Dan Fuller, and myself, we met with Sanford Ambulance and all their administrative team, talking about the shortages and some of the concerns that we have with regard to response times and all that type of thing. The good news is that West Fargo is building out its fire department. We have technicians that are highly skilled in emergency care, and so we're in a really good place, but we need to get better. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Trudeau. Horace currently uses services provided by West Fargo Police Department to ensure safety of their community. However, as your city expands, Horace may need to establish its own independent police force. Can you talk about the potential transition might look like?
Sure. Currently, right now, Horace relies on the Cass County Sheriff's Department for its policing. Although, anytime you want to offer us some, we'll take it for free.
Mutual agreements where we help too.
Fair enough, sir. All right. So we have talked with Mr. Johnner about eventually a transition period. Right now, we're at a point in time where our city is still small enough that we can rely on the Sheriff's Department to provide us adequate safety. Eventually, there will be a day that, yes, we do plan on having a police force. It'll start small, probably with just a police chief, and then eventually, starting to include officers below that. Currently, right now, though, our plan is, at least for this year, probably even next, to continue on with the Cass County Sheriff's Department, and we rely on our Horace Rural Fire District for our fire services. That'll be growing as well, and we do fully support them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Carlson.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, should I ask the question first?
Oh, I thought I was just gonna.
I'll ask the question, then we'll blend that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I just have a lot to share.
She recently handed the baton to me as diversion chair, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to give it back to her. Recently, Governor Walz announced additional state funding to assist the recruitment and training of police officers throughout Minnesota. Can you speak more about the challenges Moorhead is faced with recruiting officers and how this grant funding, along with other community initiatives will work to address your department's challenges? Plus, what's on the screen?
Plus, does that mean I get extra time? Yeah, it has been a challenge to recruit law enforcement. I don't think that we are an anomaly. It's been a challenge across the state of Minnesota, across our region, and across the nation. We have been fortunately given a substantial amount of funding, grant funding from the state of Minnesota. The acronym is ICPOET, and I don't remember what exactly the whole acronym stands for, but essentially it means that individuals who already have four-year degrees and are in a different career are able to get a grant through the state of Minnesota, through the city of Moorhead, to go to the Skills Academy and then become a law enforcement officer. We have seen a lot of success with this program and have actually gotten some of the additional funding that other communities across the state of Minnesota haven't utilized. We have a number of individuals at the academy, and I believe sometime this month, it's on my calendar, I don't remember the date, we'll be swearing in some new officers under this grant. We also have signing on bonuses, lateral bonuses, and the other thing that we're doing to help relieve some of the workload with our law enforcement is we're really leaning into different positions within the department that can focus on addressing some of the challenges that law enforcement faces. One of them is a navigator position, which I announced last year. That person has been hired and really works with all of the mental health and homeless individuals and helps them to find solutions. In fact, with the navigator and the crime analyst position, Moorhead Police has been able to reduce repeat calls for services by about 8,000 calls annually, even though we have risen in population by about 18% in the last decade. So it's really a combination of utilizing the grants in a smart and efficient way and also figuring out ways to bring in civilian positions to help address some of the issues and the workforce or the work challenges faced by our law enforcement. Do I get another 30
Yes,
seconds to
please.
answer the EMS? Okay,
Please.
great, thank you. So the challenges also with EMS is also a huge challenge, not just in Moorhead, but across the metro, across the entire region. One of the things that we're doing, and not just with the city of Moorhead, but with the League of Minnesota Cities and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, which I'm the current president, is we are really looking to our legislature and really lobbying them pretty hard to increase the amount of funding that is given back to communities to address some of these shortages. Within the city of Moorhead, we're working really closely with M-State to try to figure out what the feasibility of bringing in some type of a public safety component to the city that would address not just EMS, but also fire and law enforcement training as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Mahoney, 2024 general election, voters in Fargo passed a sales tax increase to support fire and police departments. Can you speak more about the challenges these departments are currently facing and how these new funds will address salaries and other operations of the departments?
We're really excited about the sales tax. Fire and police consume almost 40% of the budget. So it's really a lot of money that is spent in those areas. And what's happening throughout the country is around electronic software, different things that are happening, the flock system, different systems that are happening. And for us to have a safe community, all of us as mayors across this region, all our departments work very well together and really are a great team. Drew Wrigley was just in the city the other day and was complimenting to the community and the people we have. We're going to look at the sales tax revenue that's coming forth because it can be used for capital, operations, salary, all different things that are part of those departments, and figure out the best way to utilize that funding. The tax will start in April, but we won't actually have access to it until in the fall. So we're looking at different ways of doing that. Sheriff Johnner, you're going to bring us a jail that's going to almost double capacity by this spring, which to us and many in this room is a huge godsend, because to Bernie's comment, felonies sometimes weren't able to get into jail because we were just full. The other thing that happens is the sheriff also has an innovative program that a person, a low offender person, can oftentimes be monitored outside of jail. And we have a program in which people that have low offenses are in a program in which we keep them out of jail, but we also keep them monitored so they're not doing things they're not supposed to be doing. We feel in our community we have tremendous leadership in our police and fire, and all of them work well together to keep you all safe. This is a tremendously hard job to recruit to. I think Cheryl Carlson talked to that. In Minnesota, it has been difficult to recruit people into these positions. And as we all know in this community, when you look at New Orleans and what happened in New Orleans recently, we thank God that didn't happen in our community. But it's because of the strength of the people we have working with us that we do very well. And I think, Tony, to your question, we'll continue to look ways in which we can serve the public better. We're looking at barriers now, New Orleans event, where there's different kind of barriers that you can have up, that I don't have to put a garbage truck on a street, but I can actually put barriers that would stop a vehicle going into a crowd. So we're going to look at any innovative way that can increase the safety of the community. And I think our community stands strong behind people in blue. They stand strong behind our fire departments. And I just think that we should all give them a round of applause for all the great work they do.
Mayor Olson, Dilworth broke ground on their new fire station this summer. As the exciting new endeavor is underway, we are now wondering what's next. Can you speak more about the impact this fire station will have on the region and what the next steps are in fortifying your emergency services?
Yeah, we did. Yay, construction. And it's fantastic because they can actually see it happen, but when the first 4 months of construction is underground and you don't see anything, you really wonder what's going on. But then in 4 days, they had the walls up and ceiling. And what it represents is, I think it's as important as what actually takes place, right? We understand the purpose of our fire department, but the structure itself represents our commitment to our citizens in terms of public safety. And bigger picture, it also represents our commitment to our broader community, our township partners, the mutual aid that the city of Dilworth and the city of Moorhead have. We are investing in our department, but we are also investing in our region. And as we talk about the challenges that face public safety, when we hit 911, if we're looking at the ambulance question, right, we dial 911. The first one's usually to respond are police, because they're on the streets and they're on the way, and followed by EMS, and then also accompanied by our firefighters, right? And I think Mayor Dardis alluded to this. Our firefighters are first responder certified. They're ready for that first aid. So, and I know that firefighters across our region respond to medical emergencies. And again, it symbolizes something much larger than putting out fires. It symbolizes answering the call to our citizens and our residents when their need is greatest, right? And when we look at this, that's fantastic, but it doesn't hit at the root of our question, because if we're dialing 911 for a healthcare emergency and our police and fire department is responding, it's taking them away from their job. Right? It's taking them away from, policing the streets or putting out fires. So it's a delicate balance where we need to cross-train, but we need to ensure that all three of these services are fully funded and ready to go to serve all of our residents. So it's great. It's fantastic, and it provides some opportunity, and I look forward to where it takes us in the future.
We're going to go to the screen. There's kind of two similar questions. We're going to ask the question for all mayors because of the significance of higher education in our community. I think perspectives from all 5 mayors would be relevant here versus just Mayors Mahoney and Carlson, where the institutions reside. So I think it'd be important to get all mayors' perspectives for the question, but they're related. So what partnerships exist between the city and the local educational institutions to prepare students for future employment opportunities? Mayor Carlson, would you like to start?
Of course, I'd love to. I think learning starts really young in Moorhead. With our Workforce Academy, they have partnerships. The Moorhead Public Schools Workforce Academy has partnerships with both M-State, MSUM, and Concordia. I also want to commend all of our higher institution presidents for signing. I don't remember what the agreement is, but it used to be Tri-College. I'm looking at you, Tim. I don't remember what the new name is, but that students from any university can take classes at a university that they're not necessarily enrolled in. I think that also helps to educate our workforce. But particularly in the city of Moorhead, you may have heard recently that Moorhead State, MSUM, started a new program that anybody who is graduating from Moorhead Public Schools, if they have a grade point average 3.0 or higher, they're able to attend Moorhead State for free. And if you add that to the North Star Promise, which is the state of Minnesota contributes to providing free higher education to anybody in the state of Minnesota or graduate in the Minnesota to be able to go to any type of a university or higher ed. So there's a lot of opportunities for students. We have gotten and heard a lot of traction about the one that is particular to the graduates of the city of Moorhead and with MSUM. And I think that the college presidents on the Minnesota side are really, really leaning into trying to recruit the students that are right in our community. I think a great example is I got an email from a student who was going to be graduating, and she wanted me to write her a letter of reference. I'd actually never met this student, so I thought it was pretty bold of her to reach out to me to write a letter. I invited her to come and visit with me. She wanted to go to the University of Minnesota. And I said, have you ever looked at MSUM or Concordia? And she said, no. And so I said, well, how about if I set you up and you can go and visit these colleges and then make the determination. If you still want to go to the U of M, I'll write that letter of reference for you, but look at the universities right in your backyard. And she did do that, and she did choose to go to one of the colleges right in Moorhead. And so this is what the college presidents are also seeing, is that we have amazing, amazing people that are graduating in our region and really looking to recruit from this area and keep those folks here, because there's so many great opportunities to live and work and play right here in the metro community that we live in.
Mayor Dardis.
Well, our partnership, am I on? Our partnership obviously is the West Fargo Public Schools, which is the second largest school district in the state of North Dakota. Obviously, because of the school district boundaries, does not follow the city boundaries, we have a great deal of Fargo students and Horace students that are in our communities. I was told just last week, and Mayor Trudeau and I talked about it this morning, the largest elementary school in the city of West Fargo, or the West Fargo public school system, is now in Horace. When my wife started as a principal in Horace, it had a one-track school. For one first grade class, one second grade class, one third grade class. Now it's the largest elementary school that we have in the system. You've seen the success that Horace Hawks has had in athletics and all of the other amenities that a school district offers. So we're only 600 students behind the city of Bismarck. In 2 years, we'll be 1,000 ahead of them with all the projections that are coming forward. So going back to what Mayor Trudeau and myself have both spoke, that we have a major school bond referendum coming up in February. I appeal to you as informed citizens to educate yourself and look at that to see what your considerations might be. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I'm going to ask you to educate yourself, because the growth that we're experiencing, we being the city of Horace, southwest Fargo, and the city of West Fargo is unprecedented. It's unprecedented. 1,000 new kids. Last spring, I spoke to the third grade classes of all of West Fargo on a curriculum that they had. 1,345 third graders came through City Hall. That's what a class is right now. In 2000, West Fargo had the first class of 500 in 2000. 24 years later, those classes are now 1,300 to 1,500. We ask for your deliberation and respectfully educate yourself. Thank you.
Mayor Trudeau.
All right. I'll echo some of the comments that were made by Mr. Dardis. I'm the newest mayor on the stage, and sometimes that comes with an advantage. I did attend one of the local facility planning meetings for the West Fargo School District, and I had the opportunity to sit at the table with our current high school principal and vice principal, and they did not recognize me, which has its advantages. At the end of our meeting, I did suggest that I would see what possibilities are available to help control prices, because I realize the cost of things right now is crazy. We are bursting at the seams. We have the largest grade school in the district, and soon we're going to run out of space at the middle school and the high school, and we're going to have to look at options as far as classrooms, portable classrooms outdoors, trying to figure out how we're going to provide for the students that we have. I've received recent phone calls from the West Fargo School District, from some of their board members asking us, how do we promote or make people aware of the bond referendum coming up in February? And we are willing to work with them to try to figure out how we can advertise that so that people are aware that there is an election coming up, and it is important for our community. We will run out of space. At the current growth rate that we are planning on having, we're going to have to make some tough choices, or the West Fargo School District is going to have to make some tough choices on where do they shift kids to go to which schools. You know, I might see kids from Horace having to go up to the school in Fargo for their West Fargo School District, or even some up to West Fargo. And those are going to be painful choices for families, and I want them to keep that in mind on February 17th. What are they willing to do to ensure that their kids have a place to go to school?
Mayor Olson.
I didn't finish that?
You'll be batting cleanup.
Oh, well, he's got that rose there, so I thought he's at the bachelor program.
Looks like someone made a good choice. I got one, you don't. I'll let you in a little secret about Chad. Chad loves flowers, true story. Not so much interior design, but I do like flowers. So I like this question, right? I'm a teacher, it's what I do. I also have a couple of kids who are 15 and 16 years old and like college and their careers on the future. But when I ask them, like, hey, what do you want to do? They don't know, right? So when you ask this question about the partnerships for the local communities and then where are they going to go in terms of business, I really want to say, business leaders, please, right? Go to the colleges and tell them what you want out of their students. Right? Are colleges teaching the right skill sets? Right? Are they offering the right languages and programming? Right? Are we adapting our educational philosophies to meet the dynamic needs of an ever-changing business climate? You have a role and a responsibility in this, right? Because you don't want a college graduate with the same skill set that I had when I graduated in 97 or 98 or whenever the heck, maybe I didn't graduate. No, I'm just kidding. A couple of times. Proud Dragon, love it. But when we look at that, what do we want? And that goes all the way into high school, right? How are we teaching our kids? What are we teaching your students in order for them to take the next step? Because it might not be college. Right? It might be a 2-year institution or a 4-year college. It might be a 2-year institution. It might be straight to work. It might be the military, right? So as we're asking the question about, what partnerships exist, let's make sure that not only do those partnerships exist, but the partnerships are growing the students, that are growing the leaders that we want to see for the future of our region.
Thank you. Before we have Dr. Mahoney share his thoughts on the questions on the screen, we're going to start to transition towards the end, and after Dr. Mahoney addresses the question on education and higher education, I'm going to ask each of them to share some of the other final comments that they have as we move through their 5 closing comments. And there's a question on the screen, and if you want to intertwine the topic of homelessness in your closing comments, we'll be able to cover that question, which is on the screen, which is also a question that's been prepared as well. So Dr. Mahoney?
Well, first of all, I want to offer my thoughts and prayers to NDSU's First Lady, Katie Cook. She's fighting cancer with tremendous grace, tenacity, and strength, and she's actually a light to all of us. As a physician, I have to admire the way in which she's taking this challenge. President Cook and I work very much together, collaborate often. I can say what you'd look at is the health part of the university is when Sanford and Essentia were down on nurses, they expanded the program, increasing nursing students, and helped fill the need. We were taking a lot of travelers. That came down, and we take less travelers now because they began to look at what are the needs of the community. The county and the city are also working with the North Dakota School of Science as well, and how do you collaborate and get the different things that you need in your environment and have to the community. It really takes a strong relationship. UND and NDSU have strong relationships with their communities, and it takes a strong relationship to fill the needs. One of the reasons we're one of the #1 metro areas that attract businesses is our capacity to provide students and workforce. By providing that workforce, that's what attracts people. Recently, a company moved into our community from another community close to Fargo, and the reason was the capacity to hire people with certain talent subsets. So people really do admire the academics and the ability for our people in our community to have many of the skill sets that they need when they hire different people on. The other thing, if you look at it, it's really amazing when NDSU moved downtown, how that increased the vitality of the downtown with young people and different people in the downtown area. Anytime you can collaborate with a major educational institution, it really helps to invigorate and make the community even more vibrant and able to handle different things. Our entrepreneur community is one of the fastest growing ones we have. If you look at Grant Farm, what's going on out there, coding school, what's happening in different areas, our community is vibrating. Our community has energy. When you have that energy, you attract people, and that's what's happening. And one of the wonderful things about all the 5 mayors here is we all want to have an exciting, energetic community, and that's what we all have. And that's what really makes this community be the jewel that people come and want to live in and work in. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said, we're going to move now to final comments and then ask each of the mayors to have any perspectives on the question about homelessness in our region. And we'll just work our way down, starting with Mayor Olson.
Thank you. Again, we have an opportunity every year to come in and celebrate our successes. And I think it's also important, and again, my hat's off to Mayor Dardis, because he always reminds us that we have very serious work to do, and homelessness is a very serious question. And how we address this in terms of home affordability, that missing middle was a key concept that is always addressed. It's very important to the vibrancy of our region. And as we go forward and we continue to plan, that will be one of our focuses in the city of Dilworth. You know, everything's coming up roses in Moorhead. Dilworth too. And here's the reason why, is because we tend to it like a flower, right? If you don't do the things necessary for it to grow and to bloom and to blossom into something beautiful, if you don't pay attention to all the details, you don't get the result. We get to come here every year and talk about the results and brag about our cities, because we live in fantastic cities, a vibrant region that is led not only by us, but by you, right, by your neighbors. And the success is because we put in the time, right? We put in the effort. We're committed to our community to make sure it grows and continues to blossom year in and year out. Thank you again for allowing me to be a part of your morning.
Mayor Carlson.
Well, thank you. Homelessness is definitely a challenge in every single one of our communities, and I think that with some of the issues that Churches United faced this past summer, it really elevated it into the conversation that we've been having across the entire metro. I want to give hats off to the FM Area Foundation for really rallying the community, and thank you to any of you who donated to make sure that Churches United was able to keep their doors open, and they still are able to do that and house up to about 120 individuals, several of them who are children. I'm excited about the new director, executive director at the Homeless Coalition, Chandler Esslinger. I don't know if she is in this room. I'm kind of looking around. But I know that she presented to the Fargo City Commission that what it's going to really take is bringing all the partners together, all of the sectors together, to have a very, very intentional conversation about how do we plan for this, shooting from the hip and trying to do this kind of emergency response every single summer and winter and season is not really a good solution, and it's not a plan. So working together is what is going to help to address some of the issues that the individuals who are homeless in our community are facing. So, but with that, as we are entering 2025, and Moorhead is still under construction, as Mayor Olson said, we are coming up roses. It is really exciting to see the visual changes that are occurring, not just in our town, but across our entire city. I have a kind of a collection of ceremonial shovels, which I now use in my own home, and anybody wants to borrow one can certainly do that too. But I'm more excited even to start a collection of all the ribbons that'll be cutting at the ribbon ceremonies in 2026 and 2027. I also wanted to say that I'm really, really thrilled that I inspired Mayor Mahoney to get some different shoes for the state of the cities. So.
Top that, Mayor Mahoney.
You can't be the only shining star up here.
I'm glad you think I'm a shining star.
Homelessness is an issue for all our metro area and how we handle it. For many of my commissioners, the thought is let's get other people involved, and that's going to be a call out to different people on the stage as well to help us addressing this issue. When we've had different consultants come in and talk with us, we found that this is a solvable solution, but it's the community that has to reach out and take care of it. It can't be just one city or one department that handles this particular issue. Mayor Dardis and I frequently talk about the issue of suicide and how high that level is in the community. And we talk about mental illness, we talk about addiction, we talk about the different issues that are part of our society at this present time. Only together we can solve this problem. What Fargo is asking for, and we're in reach to the governor as well, and I'm happy to see the governor has an interest in this area, is how do we handle this in a better fashion? How do I get my police officers back to do police work and not trying to be the psychiatrist on the street? How do I have my sheriff's department as well be able to go out and do their duties and not be tackled with transporting somebody 2 to 3 hours away to get into a psychiatric services? We're going to work closely with the governor's office, the county, the city, our cities here, to see what we can do together. In Chile, I think it's a great example. Churches United was in a world of hurt, and the community came together and came back and rallied behind it. That would have been 120 people on the streets if we had not done that. It would have been a catastrophe in our community. So working together, I feel we can look at this problem and try to come to some solutions. We are going to continue as a community to raise the elevation, raise the conversation of what can we do and how can we do it better. This is one of the top 100 cities of livability. This is one of the top jewels in the nation as far as a metro area to live, breathe, get along with your neighbor. We have to learn how to tackle this problem just like we tackle any major problem. Whether it's a flood fight, whether it's a drought fight, whether it's a fight to see what we can do in our communities, it is a community effort that we need to work on, and all of us together can help solve this problem. Sometimes you'll feel uncomfortable and different things will happen. Let's talk about it and see how we can make it better. I firmly believe we have one of the greatest places in the world to live, and I firmly believe that's because of the people that are in this room and who we run into every day. So let's continue to make our communities great, and let's work together to make it another vision of what can we do better in our future. Thank you.
Mayor Trudeau.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't have a nice fancy pair of shoes. Sorry, I didn't get the memo. Mama said these are my special shoes. Homelessness is a problem that affects all communities. We are a smaller community, not as much as impact compared to Fargo or Moorhead. We do work with our area churches to coordinate with some of our events for them to do food drives for available parking for some of our events. We look forward to being invited to some of the meetings to help talk about how we would solve problems with homelessness. In closing, I get the opportunity and the privilege to work with the Army on most every day of the week. With that, you hear a lot of phrases that are used specifically in the Army. What is your bluff? What is your bottom line up front? And also the simple phrase, I appreciate you. So today, I would like to say that I appreciate you to our city staff, our city council, our support with the Cass County Sheriff's Department, and all of the different commissions that are involved in our city. Most importantly, our residents. I realize they put up with a lot right now. With the construction we have, we are going through growing pains, and it is very evident. Finally, I would like to say thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event, and that we appreciate you and everybody here in this audience. Thank you.
Mayor Dardis.
Thank you, Tony. It's a great pleasure for me to participate with this great group of mayors. We often are in the same room and in meetings, and I can say without reservation that the passion that they hold for their communities, their residents, is amazing. And so it's an honor and privilege for me to be a part of that and work with you folks each and every day. Our communities is struggling right now with the homeless situation. The answer to that obviously falls on us as elected officials. But the answer, the true answer to that is in this room. You folks are leaders in every aspect, whether it's in your businesses, in the community, in your church, or whatever. You're it. So the answer is in this room. So when we make appeals and we ask you to engage, do like you do for the Chamber. Do like you do for the city of Dilworth and Moorhead and Fargo and West Fargo and Horace. Engage. Because we can do this together. We can fix this. We can find a way out of this. We have hundreds of students, children, that are homeless every night. They're either staying with friends or couch surfing, I guess is what they call it, or the like, or staying in motels. The answer's in this room. And I'd be wonderfully proud to work with you to fix this. Thank you.
Well, time travels fast, doesn't it? As we wrap up, on behalf of Shannon Full and her dynamic team, I want to thank you all again for being here today. The Chamber of Commerce certainly makes a tremendous impact on our region. Thank you to our mayors for sharing their visions and for their important contributions in community leadership. Let's have another round of applause. As we head into 2025, please check out the Chamber calendar for upcoming events like the Pulse, where in the future we plan to discuss K-12 education, mental health, higher education enrollment, and artificial intelligence. Finally, I want to take a moment to give personal perspectives on what Mr. Flanagan shared on the front end of Innovate 28. I've had the blessing to be involved in a lot of economic development activities in my career in our communities. And early on, their approach to economic development was to put out a 4-year campaign to ask the private sector to pledge funding over 4 years to fuel economic growth in our region. That occurred 12 years, 3 times, 3 4-year campaigns, and then kind of went away in early 2000. When we look at our communities and our region and how you've seen today the demonstration of collaborative spirit and working together between Fargo, Moorhead, Clay County, Cass County, the merger years ago with the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC, the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce, the spirit of collaboration is real. What's been missing is an approach to a strategic plan on comprehensive growth. So as a Cass County Commissioner, one of the reasons I ran was to incent this whole 4-year campaign philosophy to re-engage the private sector in the future of our communities. In the 1990s, there were 230 companies funding the growth strategy pledges over 4 years. Today, 130. Think about that. What's happened since the 1990s? The number of businesses, the businesses you represent. Are you involved? Do you contribute to the future of the community with a return on investment with economic development and growth? Those are the pillars of why Cass County challenged Shannon Full at the Chamber and Joe Raso at the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC to come together, work together, and figure out a strategy for the next 4 years. And if the private sector stepped up, so would the county to fund that. And so the campaign is coming to close to an end to move forward with Innovate 28 starting in 2025 for the next 4 years. I highly encourage you to consider learning more about that and potentially even contributing to the overall investment, because it will make a difference. And I'm really proud of the leadership of our chamber and our EDC, because this hasn't been easy. It's a change in mindset, but it's what proactive, successful communities do across the nation, and it's coming back to our region, and I'm really excited for that. So once again, thank you for attending this amazing event, and have a great rest of your day and fantastic 2025.